Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking something that's absolutely foundational to understanding India's modern economy, rural development. Now, this isn't just about the traditional image of plows and fields. We are talking about a highly dynamic, multi-layered ecosystem. Honestly, if you want to understand where massive economic shifts are happening and where literally millions of livelihoods are transforming, this is exactly where you need to look. So let's jump right in.
To really set the stage here, we need to look at this enduring quote from Mahatma Gandhi. He basically said that the real progress of India doesn't just mean growing industrial urban centers, but mainly developing its villages. And it's so easy to get caught up in the hype of massive IT hubs and sprawling megacities, right? But Gandhi's vision is startlingly relevant today. The core argument is simple. A nation cannot realize true holistic progress if its foundational roots are just left behind.
And here is the stark reality of why this matters so much. Despite agriculture being the historical backbone of the economy, and despite the fact that over 2/3 of India's population depends on it, 1/4 of rural India still lives in abject poverty. That's a massive, massive demographic. This central conflict, the heavy reliance on an underproductive agricultural sector versus the urgent, pressing need for poverty alleviation, that is exactly why we need to focus on rural development.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start by defining true rural development, then look at fueling the rural economy, reforming agricultural markets, the need for diversification, and finally, we'll uncover some new frontiers in livelihoods.
Okay, part 1. Defining true rural development and why it goes way beyond just farming.
When most people hear the words rural development, they instantly picture tractors or maybe better seeds. But a real, comprehensive action plan, it goes far beyond the farm. True development requires aggressive investment in human resources. We're talking about literacy, especially female literacy, along with robust public health and sanitation. It requires land reforms and game-changing infrastructure upgrades like electricity, feeder roads linking to major highways, and better irrigation. But crucially, it also involves very specific poverty alleviation measures and creating non-farm productive opportunities. The main takeaway here? You can't just fix the farm. You literally have to elevate the entire human and physical ecosystem surrounding it.
Moving on to part 2, fueling the rural economy, which is really the financial engine of all this.
An ecosystem this vast requires a serious financial engine, right? Especially when you consider the agonizingly long wait between planting a crop and actually seeing any income from it. If we trace how this engine evolved, well, pre-independence, the situation was pretty grim. Small farmers and landless laborers were heavily exploited by moneylenders, who basically trapped them in endless cycles of high-interest debt. The major pivot happened in 1969. That's when India adopted social banking and a multi-agency approach to really tackle rural credit needs. Then, a massive milestone hit in 1982 with the establishment of NABARD, the National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. This was set up as an apex body to coordinate the whole shebang, the entire rural financing system.
But we hit a structural roadblock. Formal banking requires collateral, and that automatically shuts out a huge chunk of poor households. Plus, let's be real, agricultural loan default rates have historically been pretty high. But conversely, we see this incredibly innovative solution pop up: self-help groups, or SHGs. These groups promote microcredit by pooling small savings from their members and then lending it out in manageable installments at totally reasonable interest rates. It's brilliant because it bypasses that collateral trap entirely.
Let me bring this microcredit concept to life for you. Just look at Kudumbashree down in Kerala. It started back in 1995 as just a small thrift society for poor women, but through sheer community power, they mobilized 1 crore rupees in savings. It grew into one of the absolute largest informal banking networks for women in all of Asia. It just goes to show how grassroots, women-led financial initiatives can completely bypass the limits of traditional banking and build immense localized wealth.
All right, Section 3, reforming agricultural markets and specifically the supply chain.
I want you to pause for just a second and try to reverse engineer exactly how the food on your plate today actually got there. It's a massive macroeconomic puzzle. Agricultural marketing isn't just a farmer handing a fresh tomato directly to a consumer. It involves complex, coordinated steps: assembling the raw produce, ensuring adequate storage so things don't immediately rot, processing the goods, and finally the massive task of transportation and distribution across the country. And historically, farmers were heavily exploited during these steps, with faulty weighing and a total lack of price transparency.
When you look at a physical, regulated market yard, the sheer scale of aggregation is mind-blowing. This is what it actually takes to pull together the yield of thousands of individual small farms into one centralized hub so it can officially enter the national supply chain.
Because this system is so insanely vast, government intervention became absolutely necessary to protect both the farmers and us, the consumers. There are 4 critical interventions we need to look at. First, setting up regulated marketplaces to ensure actual transparency. Second, building physical infrastructure like roads and cold storage. Get this, over 10% of farm goods are still wasted simply because of a lack of storage. Third is promoting cooperative marketing. The milk cooperatives in Gujarat are a legendary success story of this. And fourth, utilizing policy instruments like minimum support prices or MSP, which sets a guaranteed price floor to protect farmers alongside buffer stocks maintained by the Food Corporation of India to keep prices stable.
Section 4, the need for diversification, or looking beyond the Kharif season.
Even with great credit and functioning markets, the hard truth is that the agriculture sector in India is simply overcrowded. Finding alternate livelihoods isn't just nice to have, it's an absolute necessity. You see, much of the agricultural work is heavily concentrated in the Kharif or monsoon season. During the dry Rabi or winter season, finding gainful employment is incredibly tough if you're in an area without good irrigation. Diversifying, meaning shifting the workforce into allied activities and non-farm sectors, reduces the immense price risks of single-crop farming. It provides stable, year-round income, which is what actually helps families break out of poverty.
Now, when we think of livestock, we almost always picture cattle, right? But surprisingly, poultry completely dominates the space, making up a massive 61% of all livestock. Animal husbandry provides a vital supplementary income for over 70 million small and marginal farmers. And poultry? Well, it's the undisputed king of this income-augmenting activity.
And we are seeing some amazing entrepreneurial spirit in this diversification space. Take the Tamil Nadu Women in Agriculture Project, or TANWA, for example. This initiative trains women in the latest agricultural techniques, but more importantly, it empowers farm women's groups to act as mini-banks. By pooling their savings, these women are launching awesome non-farm ventures like soap manufacturing, doll making, and even organic vermicompost or mushroom cultivation. It is literally the perfect blend of microcredit and non-farm diversification.
Finally, Section 5. Let's look at the new frontiers and livelihoods in emerging sectors. As the rural economy diversifies, modern and sometimes unexpected industries are taking firm root. For instance, fisheries are now providing around 1.5% of the total GDP. And fascinatingly, 75% of that production comes from inland sources, not the ocean. Then there's horticulture, growing fruits, veggies, and medicinal plants. It's a massive driver, contributing roughly 1/3 of the total agriculture output value. And perhaps most excitingly, information technology is penetrating the rural space. IT is being used to predict areas of food insecurity, shoot crucial weather and soil data straight to farmers, and basically act as a modern catalyst to unlock the creative potential of rural communities. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a really fascinating development and a bit of a provocative question. We're increasingly seeing national and multinational fast food chains entering into direct contracts with rural farmers. They provide the seeds, they provide the inputs, and they guarantee procurement at pre-decided prices. On paper, that sounds amazing, right? It expands markets and reduces price risk. But we really have to ask, do such corporate arrangements actually raise the long-term incomes for small farmers, or do they subtly introduce entirely new vulnerabilities and dependencies into the rural ecosystem? It's a complex question, and how we answer it will likely shape the future of rural development for decades to come. Thanks so much for joining me as we decoded the rural economy today. Keep questioning and keep learning.